Welcome to the Allison Knows podcast.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're diving deep into the recent House Ethics Committee report on Matt Gaetz.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got a lot of different sources on this.
Oh, yeah.
We've got articles, we've got YouTube videos, we've even got like
explainers.
yeah, like these
study guide type material.
Yeah, like study guide type materials.
Yeah.
So really trying to break this down. So buckle up because we'll unpack everything this report reveals. The reactions to it, what it all means for the political landscape.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating case study in accountability or the lack thereof within the halls of power. So, yeah, we got a lot to cover.
Yeah, so let's start with the report itself.
Yeah.
The House Ethics Committee. And get this.
Okay.
Unanimously found that Matt Gaetz engaged in some serious misconduct, both Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah.
So that's pretty huge, right?
Yeah, that is huge. Yeah, unanimity in such a politically charged environment, really underscores the weight of the evidence here.
Yeah.
They found that he was engaged in prostitution, statutory rape of a minor illicit drug use, accepting improper gifts, and even obstruction of Congress.
Okay, so that's quite a laundry list of accusations.
It is.
So let's, I guess, zero in on this statutory rape allegation.
Okay.
Because that's probably, most serious of all of these.
Yeah, definitely can.
What does the report say specifically about that?
So the report details Gaetz's interactions with a 17-year-old girl, referred to as Victim A.
Okay.
And it states that they engaged in sexual activity on multiple occasions, even in front of witnesses.
Wow.
Now, this is where it gets kind of legally tricky.
Okay.
Under Florida law, where the age of consent is 18.
Right.
Gaetz can't really claim ignorance of her age as a defense.
Even if he said, like, oh, I didn't know how old she was, it wouldn't matter.
Exactly. The report removes that possibility, which is significant.
Right.
It also connects Gaetz to Joel Greenberg, his former associate, who's currently serving time for, among other things, sex trafficking of Victim A.
Wow.
So this link, it kind of paints a picture of a pattern of behavior.
Right.
Not just like isolated incidents.
So how did Gaetz respond to all of this?
Well, interestingly enough,
yeah,
he hasn't actually denied any of the specific factual claims that are made in the report. Instead, he's tried to deflect blame by questioning the reliability of witnesses who admitted to drug use.
Okay.
But the report explicitly states that Gaetz himself used drugs.
Oh, wow.
During the alleged incidents. So
that kind of undercuts his argument.
It really does, yeah. It's kind of a classic deflection tactic.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there's this whole thing about a party on July 15th, 2017, where a lot of this alleged misconduct took place.
Right.
Did he ever address that specifically?
So he tweeted out a gate log from that night.
Okay.
Seemingly to prove that he wasn't there.
Uh-huh.
But here's the catch. He never explicitly denies being at the party.
So he's creating confusion.
Right.
But not actually,
Not directly lying.
Yeah, not directly lying.
Right.
Clever, but not reassuring.
Yeah, not exactly.
Okay, so this leads us to another layer of this story.
Okay.
And this is where it gets kind of wild.
All right.
It involves Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I know, right?
How do they fit into this?
So it turns out that Trump actually wanted to appoint Gaetz as Attorney General, even though he was aware of these allegations.
Oh,
I know.
No way.
Yeah. And believe it or not, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, seriously?
Yeah, he was part of the group on Trump's plane who convinced him to choose Gaetz.
Wow.
Yeah, and Musk reportedly referred to Gaetz as our hammer of justice.
Oh, my gosh.
So, it really makes you question their judgment, to say the least.
Yeah, talk about a major miscalculation. Yeah. But thankfully, Gaetz didn't actually end up as Attorney General.
Right.
What happened? What stopped that from happening?
Well, it was the report itself.
Okay.
Republican senators understandably wanted to see its findings before voting on his confirmation.
Of course.
And so the seriousness of the allegations, combined with the looming release of this report, ultimately led Trump to drop the nomination.
Okay. Well, that's a relief that it didn't go through.
It is.
But it's pretty alarming that it even got that far.
It is, yeah. It definitely raises questions about the vetting process or lack thereof in Trump's administration.
Okay, so before we dive deeper into, the political fallout and all the implications of this, let's take a quick break and remind you to subscribe and share Allison knows.
Yes.
You can find us on Spotify and YouTube.
And while you're at it, why not join the conversation on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok?
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes.
All right, so back to our deep dive. One thing that really struck me was the attempt to suppress the report's release altogether.
Yes, this is a crucial aspect of the story.
Yeah.
Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson actively worked to keep the report's findings from the public.
Really?
Yeah, he urged his fellow Republicans to vote against its release.
Wow.
And a majority of them did just that.
So they knew what was in it and still tried to bury it?
It seems that way, yeah.
Why?
Well, the report itself includes a dissenting opinion from Republican Michael Guest, the committee chairman.
Right.
And he argues that since Gaetz resigned from Congress, the committee no longer had jurisdiction over him. Therefore, releasing the report was unnecessary.
So their argument is he's not in Congress anymore, case closed.
Yeah, that seems to be the gist of it.
Okay.
But there is an important detail to consider.
All right.
At least one Republican on the committee voted with the Democrats to release the report.
Interesting.
So it suggests there was some dissent, even within the Republican Party,
yeah,
about suppressing this information.
So it wasn't a completely unified front.
Right.
Even among those who were trying to keep it quiet.
Exactly. And this internal division within the Republican Party really makes the story even more complex and fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is already so much to unpack.
I know, right?
And we haven't even touched on, like, the broader implications of all of this.
I know. We've got a lot more to discuss.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider, and we're just getting started.
We are. Yeah, it really does make you think, like,
right.
If somebody can just resign from Congress to avoid consequences, you know, an ethics investigation, what does that say about the system's ability to actually hold powerful people accountable?
It's a huge question, right?
It is.
Like, do these investigations have any teeth at all?
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into the, you know, like the systemic issues here, let's go back to some of the other findings in the report. What about, like, the alleged drug use?
Yeah, so the report states that Gaetz used or possessed illegal drugs, cocaine and ecstasy to be specific, on numerous occasions. Even Victim A testified that she witnessed him using cocaine at that party we talked about.
Right. So not only is this behavior, like, completely inappropriate for a congressman, but it also kind of adds another layer of hypocrisy to his attempts to discredit witnesses who admitted to drug use.
Exactly. He tries to use their drug use to undermine their credibility.
Right.
But the report suggests he was engaging in similar behavior.
Yeah, it's like, well, you did it too, so.
Yeah. And it raises questions about his fitness for office, you know?
Oh, totally.
Especially when you consider he was being considered for attorney general.
Right. The nation's top law enforcement official. It's just, it boggles the mind that somebody with these allegations hanging over their head could even be considered for that position.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the obstruction of Congress charge. What did he actually do to warrant that accusation?
So the report uses pretty strong language to describe Gaetz's actions, stating that he obstructed the investigation in every way that he possibly could.
Wow.
So we already discussed his resignation, which seemed like a strategic move to, you know, preempt the report's release.
It was almost like he was trying to pull the rug out from under the investigation.
Exactly.
Before it could even really get going.
Yeah. And he didn't stop there. He defied a subpoena to testify before the House Ethics Committee.
Wow.
Refused to answer specific questions about his interactions with Victim A.
So basically, he stonewalled the investigation at every turn.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then on top of that, you have, you know, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, and other Republicans actively trying to suppress the report. Even though they knew what it contained.
Yeah.
Like, why?
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
I mean, you would think that they would want to distance themselves from someone accused of such serious misconduct. So why go to such lengths to protect him?
It's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And I think it really suggests a disturbing level of, you know, prioritizing party loyalty over ethical conduct and accountability. And this isn't just like a theoretical issue, right? This has real-world implications.
It does.
It erodes public trust in our elected officials.
Absolutely.
And our institutions. Like, if we can't trust them to hold each other accountable, how can we trust them to, you know, represent our interests and uphold the law?
Exactly. It's a very slippery slope. And it really raises the question, Are congressional ethics investigations even effective?
Right.
Like if someone can just resign and avoid consequences.
So that's the point.
What's the point?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And, we can't forget the impact this has on the victims.
Yeah.
One of the women involved in these encounters said, it's frustrating to know I lived the reality that he denies.
Wow.
Like, that's such a powerful statement.
It is.
And it's so heartbreaking,
It is. It really speaks to the power imbalance at play here.
Yeah.
This woman's word is pitted against that of a powerful politician.
Right.
And unfortunately, in these situations, the benefit of the doubt often goes to the person with the platform and the influence.
Exactly. And it really highlights the need for a system that truly protects and empowers victims to come forward.
Absolutely.
They need to be heard, they need to be believed, and they need to be supported.
They do. And their voices need to be amplified, not silenced or dismissed.
This whole situation is just so disheartening.
It is.
It really makes you wonder about the state of our political landscape.
Yeah, it's certainly a cause for concern, but it also presents an opportunity, I think, for reflection and reform.
You're right. We can't just let this slide.
Yeah.
We need to demand better from our elected officials and hold them to a higher standard.
I completely agree. We need to push for greater transparency, stronger ethical guidelines, and more effective mechanisms for accountability within Congress.
This deep dive has been incredibly informative.
It has.
But also incredibly unsettling.
Yeah.
The Gaetz ethics report is just a stark reminder that power can corrupt.
It can.
And that we need to remain vigilant in holding our leaders accountable.
It's a lesson we can't afford to ignore.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
And there's still so much to discuss.
I know, right?
But before we continue, let's take another moment to remind you to subscribe and share. Allison knows.
Yes, please do.
You can find us on Spotify and YouTube.
That's right.
And we encourage you to join the conversation on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok.
Yes, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this case.
Yeah.
And its broader implications.
All right, so let's pick up where we left off. We were talking about the broader implications of this case.
Right.
Including its impact on, public trust and the Republican Party. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a tough question, but an important one. How does this case impact public trust, especially when we see, like a concerted effort to suppress the truth?
Yeah, it's definitely a blow to the system's credibility.
Right.
When you have those in power who are prioritizing protecting their own.
Yeah.
Even in the face of, these serious allegations.
Right.
It sends a message that they're not really accountable to the people that they represent.
And what about the Republican Party as a whole?
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to be caught in a very difficult position here.
They are, yeah. On the one hand, you have figures like Trump and Musk, who were, strong supporters of Gaetz, despite the accusations.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, they have to grapple with the very real possibility that this scandal is going to alienate voters.
Yeah. Who actually value ethical conduct.
Right. So it seems like they're facing a real test of their values here.
Yeah.
Will they prioritize loyalty over accountability? Or will they take a stand for what's right, even if it means going against some of their most prominent figures?
Yeah. It's a pivotal moment for the party.
Yeah.
Their actions in the wake of this report, I think, will speak volumes about their priorities and their commitment to ethical leadership.
We've also talked about the role of journalists in this case.
Right.
And they really faced a lot of challenges in reporting on these allegations, especially with Gaetz, actively trying to discredit witnesses and control the narrative.
Absolutely. This case really highlights the crucial role of a free and independent press in holding those in power accountable. Journalists faced attempts to intimidate them, discredit their sources, muddy the waters with misinformation.
It's tough.
And despite these hurdles, they persisted in bringing the truth to light.
Their work is so vital to a functioning democracy.
It is.
And it reminds us that we need to be, critical consumers of information.
Right.
And support news organizations that are prioritizing accuracy and integrity.
I couldn't agree more. We need to be discerning about our news sources and be wary of attempts to manipulate or suppress information.
This whole deep dive has really highlighted the importance of informed civic engagement.
It has.
We can't just be passive observers here.
No.
We need to hold our leaders accountable and demand better from our institutions.
I completely agree. It starts with staying informed.
Yes.
Engaging in thoughtful dialogue. And participating in the political process.
Yes.
We all have a role to play in shaping a more just and ethical society.
Well said.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the specific allegations against Matt Gaetz to the broader implications for accountability trust and the future of the Republican Party.
Yeah. It's been a complex and at times unsettling conversation.
Yeah.
But these are the conversations we need to be having as a society.
I couldn't agree more. This case is a stark reminder that power can corrupt.
It can.
And that we must remain vigilant in demanding transparency and ethical conduct from those who represent us.
It's a lesson we can't afford to forget.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Matt Gaetz ethics report.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a heavy topic, but a crucial one to discuss.
It has.
And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
Right.
We encourage you to continue exploring this topic.
Yes.
Researching the issues and forming your own conclusions.
Stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
And before we sign off, one last reminder to subscribe and share Allison Knows.
Yes, please do.
You can find us on Spotify and YouTube.
That's right.
We'd also love for you to join the conversation on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok.
We appreciate your support.
Yeah.
And look forward to connecting with you there.
Thank you for listening to the Allison Knows podcast. Follow Allison on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok.